It is Tuesday, July 29th, and there was some massive news that came out this morning about Hims& Hers. Well, it wasn't directly about Hims& Hers. It was actually about Novo Nordisk, the company's former partner in selling GLP-1s. Now, Novo Nordisk is one of the companies that's really putting pressure on Hims& Hers and all the other companies that are both selling, distributing, and compounding GLP-1s. They are up in arms about the fact that these companies are able to personalize, and that's the exemption that they're using under the FDA. They're able to personalize semaglutide and sell it to customers. They've got a bunch of complaints. I'll go through some of those in just a second. But what was really notable is that Novo Nordisk reduced their guidance for the year, and they released some numbers for their direct-to-consumer business. This was the business that they were going to be using to help distribute product through Hims & Hers. Hims & Hers was going to help sell Wegovy, their GLP-1 product, and then that was actually going to be distributed through Novo Nordisk's direct-to-consumer channel. Hims & Hers wasn't actually going to be the company shipping that product to customers. It was a little bit confusing. But the idea here for all these pharmaceutical companies is they want to be direct-to-consumer businesses. They don't want to have Hims & Hers be in the power position or any of these other telehealth companies where that's the place that you go to actually interact with a doctor, with a pharmacy, get healthcare answers. They want customers to go directly to them. That's not working out well. And that is where disruption is coming into this space. I think Hims & Hers is going to be the aggregator of demand for a lot of our healthcare answers. Yes, they started with things like ED and hair loss, but now they're moving into weight loss. They have menopause products coming later this year. Testosterone is another one that's in their pipeline. They're going to expand the breadth of their solutions to more and more products. That's bringing already now millions of subscribers to that platform. That is putting the direct-to-consumer business for companies like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to shame. So let's dig into exactly what we learned today. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe to my newsletter. I got a link on the screen and the link in the show notes. That's where I have done a deep dive on Hims & Hers. I'll put a link to that as well. One of the biggest positions in the portfolio right now. And that portfolio has actually absolutely crushed the market. So love to have you as part of that community. And I'm going to be using Fiscal AI throughout this video. This is where you can get all the information all in one place. I'll show you exactly how this works. But if you want to try it for 2 weeks for free, fiscal.ai/ASYM. Got great images, just really easy to find things like transcripts. I'm going to get to those transcripts, especially from Novo Nordisk in a second. But let's look at what's going on in the market. The market is down a little bit today. So this is just kind of noise. We're in the middle of earnings season, but I think it's notable that Hims & Hers not down all that much today, but Novo Nordisk down 22% as I'm recording. It's about midday on Wall Street. Well, this is what's going on. Novo Nordisk reported their recent quarterly results, and results look pretty good. Revenue up 18% in the quarter. This isn't a company I follow closely, but this is another growth company, but they're priced to be a growth company. If you go back here to their overview, price to earnings multiple is about 2017 on a forward basis, but investors are worried about their patent cliff, some of their products coming off patent. So shares are down almost 60% just over the past few months. But here's where things got interesting right here. Sales growth outlook for 2025 down to 8 to 14%. That is well below their previous expectations. So what was the driver of that? They get to that in this next section. The sales outlook for 2025 is driven by lower growth expectations from the second half of 2025 related to growth expectations for Wegovy. So that is their GLP-1 product. And they are reducing that because of what they say is persistent use of compounded GLP-1s, slower than expected market expansion, and competition. Now, they talked a lot about GLP-1s here. You can go through this entire segment if you like. Basically the same complaints that they've had about companies that are compounding GLP-1s for the last few months. So at the end of the first quarter, that's when the exemption came off, the shortage exemption came off, where companies like Hims & Hers could compound GLP-1s and sell that into the market. Once supply got to the point where it shouldn't have been undersupplied anymore, then they should be stopping that compounding of GLP-1s. Now, for every product, there is reasons that certain products are compounded, and personalization is actually the one that they are using. But Novo Nordisk continues to complain about this. This was the same thing that they did when they ended their partnership with Hims & Hers about a month ago. So they had a partnership, only lasted about a month, and that was where Hims & Hers was going to be helping sell Wegovy to their customers. But what Novo Nordisk wants from that is them to stop compounding GLP-1s at all. And that was something that Hims and Hers apparently didn't do. Now, we don't know all the details behind this, but that's really the battle between these two companies. And then you could put Eli Lilly in this as well. But the language that they use here, I think, is interesting because they're talking about knockoff semaglutide drugs, illicit and inauthentic foreign active pharmaceutical ingredients. They're not making direct allegations to any specific company, but they're basically saying that this is all illegal and it's awful for users and consumers. If that's the case, that's not good. That's not good for the healthcare system. But then Novo Nordisk and regulators need to go through the appropriate channels, file lawsuits against the companies that are doing this if they have proof that this is what's happening, especially if it's a company like Hims and Hers. This is the one that they've had the most public battle with. If this is really happening, and if this is a huge safety concern, then let's see the evidence behind it. I'm an investor in Hims and Hers. I don't have any problem. If they are doing something wrong or illegal or unsafe, then we should know about it as investors. So these allegations are really strong, but it's also the kind of thing that sounds like a complaint from a company that's being disrupted. Let's get to those numbers. So they launched NovoCare Pharmacy. This was going to be what was actually getting the products to customers with that Hims and Hers partnership. That was going to come from NovoCare Pharmacy. Wegovy prescriptions via NovoCare Pharmacy amount to around 11,000 total weekly prescriptions. In addition, around 20,000 weekly prescriptions from retail cash channels. Okay, so here's the challenge with that. 11,000 total weekly prescriptions sounds like a decent number. But let's go to Hims and Hers and go to their KPIs, their key performance indicators, so we can find out how many subscribers they have. So that's over 2 million right now. And then how much each of those subscribers is spending on a monthly basis. So you can see, as of the most recent quarter, we'll get updated results on Monday when Hims and Hers reports their second quarter results. But right now, 2.4 million subscribers. So what you're looking for in this business is scale. Novo Nordisk is going to be able to open up a website and a direct-to-consumer channel. But what happens when that customer that's buying one product from you wants another product? They're buying a weight loss product from you, but now they need something else, and you don't offer it. Where are they going to go? They're going to go somewhere else. Eventually, this market plays out with one company aggregating demand. This is the trend over the internet over the past 20 years. Yes, Sears can build a website, but Amazon is where people shop. Yes, NBC can launch a streaming service, but Netflix is where they actually watch streaming. The power in the modern market is, who do customers actually go to interact with? Are they going to go to find healthcare solutions from Novo Nordisk, go to Novo Nordisk's website or their app? Absolutely not. They're going to go to a solution like Hims and Hers. Maybe it's not this specific winner, but it's a solution like that. I think that's what the future of medicine is going to be. Open up an app. It has all of my information and all of my data that I'm collecting all day, and it can provide healthcare solutions for me or answers for me. This is their investment in artificial intelligence. Look, Novo Nordisk isn't going to do that kind of thing. And what we're seeing in numbers like this, millions of users on Hims and Hers, and thousands, tens of thousands of users. So a much smaller scale with Novo's platform. That is going to be the big challenge for the market. The power is no longer with the companies that own supply. And this is what Novo Nordisk is finding. This is why they're not growing the way that they once were, because a company like Hims and Hers has multiple supply options. They can sell Wegovy, they can sell Ozempic, but they can also compound solutions if that's the right solution for their customers. They can sell oral solutions. They can sell generics. So the dynamics in the market have completely changed, and we're seeing that with the suppliers right now. This is the same dynamic that we went through with all the big brands. The power that Kraft and Budweiser and General Mills and 3M had in the market in 2005 just doesn't exist in 2025. Now we're going through the same transition in the healthcare market. I think that's what we're seeing in the numbers today. Novo Nordisk is still growing, but they're not growing at the way that they once were, and they're running into this patent cliff. Their patents are going to run out. Semaglutide is going to be a generic product in, I believe it's 5 years in the US. It's already going that direction in Canada. And there are other competing products coming into the market. More competition is good for the companies that can aggregate demand. That's where Hims and Hers sits. That's what I took away from this release today. If Novo Nordisk wants to bring evidence against a company like Hims and Hers, I think they should. That should absolutely be on the table. But releasing a press release with scary words like this is just trying to scare consumers and investors. And I don't think it's going to work at this point because we have seen the dynamic shift in the market. But let me know what you think about Novo's report. And Hims and Hers stock today. This is, like I said, one of the biggest holdings I have in the Asymmetric portfolio. There's a link on the screen if you want to follow that. I'll also put a link in the show notes to the Spotlight article that I did on them. That was even before GLP-1s were offered by Hims and Hers. So I've been in this stock for quite a while now. Love to hear what you think about the future of this market. Leave those comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.